The Detroit Pistons finished with the worst record in the NBA this season. They were the only team to win less than 20 games, and they got absolutely screwed in the draft lottery, falling from the best odds to land the first overall pick to the 5th overall pick, which is quite literally the worst case scenario for them. However, despite missing out on Victor Wembanyama, and also missing out on guys like Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, and Amen Thompson, I do think the Pistons are in a better spot than you would think. Sure, they would have liked to land one of the best prospects of all time, one of the best point guard prospects we've ever seen, a really good floor spacer that would actually fit this team perfectly, and a high-end upside player like Amen Thompson that can be a primary playmaker. But I do think that they're in a better spot than most young teams, despite the fact that they finished with the worst record in the NBA. With established cornerstones in place, in my opinion, I do think that even though the pick landed outside the top 4, the Pistons have a chance to land a player that can fit their team perfectly and push them into potential playing contention next season. I want to start by talking about something that the Pistons have that most teams that finish with the worst record in the NBA by 5 games don't have, and that's a potential franchise centerpiece. I think the slow start to the season and the season-ending injury made people sour a bit on Cade Cunningham, but I still believe in him as a franchise centerpiece upside player. He's a 6'6", 220-pound primary creator, and that just doesn't grow on trees. Despite his inefficiency, he still put up nearly 20 points per game in the 12 games that he played this season. On top of that, in the first 8 games of the season, he averaged 23.1 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game, and 6.8 assists per game on a 44.7 field goal percentage. Compare that to the final 4 games where he averaged 13.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, and 4.5 assists per game on 33.3 field goal percentage, which does line up with where I believe the injuries really started to affect him. And he also saw improvement in his assist to turnover ratio, which is encouraging for a young player with primary playmaking upside. This is a big point guard that, despite the numbers not looking good on the surface, still shows a ton of potential as a scorer and playmaker. I wouldn't give up on Cade yet by any means. He hasn't shown me anything when healthy that would dissuade me from what I believed in him during the draft process. He still has shown all the tools that made him the consensus #1 pick in his draft when he's been healthy, and he has too many intangibles and traits that you just can't teach. So I believe the Pistons have their point guard and their franchise player of the future, and they also have their shooting guard of the future in Jaden Ivey. Ivey had a really electric rookie season after being the 5th overall pick by the Pistons out of Purdue. 16.3 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, 5.2 assists per game, 41.6, 34.3, 74.7 shooting splits. And the best way to describe how Jaden Ivey plays is basically it's like watching a compilation video of Michael Irvin screaming on TV sets like First Take or NFL Network, as well as his Twitter videos as well. He plays at 100 miles per hour. He's one of the fastest players in the league. He's great when it comes to vertical athleticism. He's quick and twitchy, and he shows all the signs you want in a 2-guard next to Cade Cunningham in terms of on and off ball versatility. Now, he does need to play in control more. That's the big thing. He is way too reckless at times, but that's something that can improve over time. It's something we saw with a lot of young athletic guards when they entered the league. And he does need to work on decision making and shot selection, but again, a lot of young guards struggle with that. I like him a lot as a long-term player for this team, and I think he can play a somewhat similar role to Jalen Brown in terms of being a second scoring option that can play on and off the ball. However, I think it will be with more playmaking and less 3-point shooting upside. And also, I think the Pistons have their center of the future. Despite being the youngest player in the NBA, Jalen Duren looked like a veteran at times on the court. He had his flaws and rookie mistakes for sure, but this is one of the smartest defensive bigs and overall field bigs I've seen enter the NBA. And that's not just for his age, that's in general. He is a great defensive communicator. The best defensive communicator I've seen in terms of prospects when he was coming out of Memphis. He has high understanding of defensive coverages. He can drop, hold his own on switches, even though I don't think he's a full switch big like a Bam Adebayo. I do think he does hold his own on switches to the point where he can't get played off the floor, and he also does a good job of hedging screens. He can cover a lot of ground. He has a high motor, good lateral movement. Just all the tools you want in a defensive leader from a physical and a mental perspective. He has them. He does have to cut down on the fouls a bit, but it's not too much of a problem. The fouls on tape don't feel like a long-term problem like they were with, say, a Jaren Jackson Jr. when he was a rookie. And even then, Jaren is one of the, if not the best defensive player in the league at 23 years old, despite still having that flaw in his game. Now, I don't think that Duren has Jaren's mobility, because Jaren has freakish levels of mobility, but I would still say that Duren is a very mobile big, and should be a defensive monster for years to come. On offense, he's a rim runner, lob threat, dump-off guy, does have some post potential, and while he's not a good shooter, he has flashed some encouraging signs of a mid-range game, but even if that doesn't develop, he's a super physical player that's hard to stop going downhill as the roll man. He's also a really good passer, makes good reads off the roll, good high-low passer, can make the connecting passes. Basically, he's a bigger version of what Robert Williams is, and I think he has a chance to be even better than what Rob is now. Which really says something, because Rob is one of the most important players on a title contender, and probably would have been Defensive Player of the Year last year if he wasn't getting hurt. I truly believe that Jalen Duren is a special big prospect, someone that has a chance to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year as he continues to develop, and he has the maturity, the feel, and all the tools in the world that you look for in a franchise big, and I still can't believe that they got him at pick 13. The Pistons did a great job with this draft class. They got my number 3 player in the draft at pick 5 in Jaden Ivey, and they got my number 5 player in the draft in Jalen Duren at pick 13, and both of them have proven they are cornerstones of the future with this team. So I think it's clear the Pistons have their point guard, shooting guard, and center of the future, which leaves the power forward and small forward positions open for potential upgrades. I think the Pistons likely will be choosing between 3 players that can play those positions. Ausar Thompson, the twin brother of a men from OTE, freak athlete, high defensive upside, connecting playmaking potential, and on-off ball versatility. Jarace Walker, a big physical forward from Houston with high feel for the game, high motor, versatility on both ends of the floor, and the ability to impact games at a high level with and without the basketball in his hands. And Cam Whitmore, the power wing from Villanova, the best pure power athlete in the class, has shot creating upside, high motor on the boards, the youngest of the 3 and one of the youngest players in the draft, and also has the most scoring upside of the 3. In the most recent mock draft I did, I had them taking Cam Whitmore. But the more I've thought about it since I posted that mock draft, the more I actually lean towards being all in on Jarace Walker to the Pistons. Cam Whitmore and Ausar Thompson will be great picks as well, but the fit with Jarace really intrigues me the most, and I think as I thought about it more, the more I just fell in love with the idea of the Pistons getting him at pick 5. I will talk about Cam Whitmore and Ausar Thompson in future videos as the series goes on, but Jarace Walker is the one I want to focus on here. Jarace Walker is a 6'7", 250-pound forward with a 7'3" wingspan. He's a good athlete. I wouldn't say he's a great one compared to some of the anime characters in this draft class, but he is a really good one. He has good foot speed and lateral movement, decent vertical pop and range, and he's super strong and physical. Now, he didn't put up big time numbers at Houston, but he did show encouraging flashes as a shooter and creator. His numbers reflect more of the system he played in, although I would say only time will tell if that was just about the system he played in, or it's just who he is. But it wouldn't shock me if he was like Scotty Barnes in a sense of putting up better scoring numbers as a rookie than he did in college. Walker is a very versatile offensive player. He can finish around the basket. He can be a menace on the offensive glass. He can play with and without the basketball in his hands. And if you're going to talk about his potential as a scorer, I think a good high-end outcome comparison would be like a Paul Millsap type of player, which is a 16 to 18 point per game scorer on good efficiency. He does have some work to do, but I think he has more scoring potential than the public perception of him. On top of that, he's an excellent connecting passer, good vision, makes good reads, plays within the flow of the offense, good feel, and doesn't have to be an on-ball player to be effective. When you add that to his defensive ability, you really get something worth taking at 5th overall. Because if it wasn't for the 7'5" video game character in this draft class, Jarace Walker would be talked about as the best defensive prospect in this class, because as of right now, he's number 2, and he's only number 2 to maybe the best defensive prospect we've ever seen. He has great feel and instincts. He plays passing lanes. He has active hands. He can block shots. He's super physical. He's versatile. He can defend wings and forwards as well as hold his own on guards and bigs. He has all the tools you want in a defensive player physically. Big, strong, long arms, lateral movement skills, high motor on defense, and also the feel and intangibles that you want from an elite defender as well. And I would really love the fit between Duren and Walker defensively in the front court, because those are two of the smartest young defensive prospects I've seen. It would be a lot of versatility. I think the communication would be really good between each other and overall for the defense. And that gives you a good foundation for what your defensive identity can be because of what those two are able to do. Jarace Walker has the potential to be a 15 to 17 point per game, 7 to maybe even 10 rebound per game, 3 to 6 assists per game player with all defense ability. And considering he won't demand on-ball reps to be effective, I think it's a perfect fit for Detroit. You get a monster defensive frontcourt with Walker and Duren. You have 3 of the highest feel young players in the league for their position, Cade at point guard, Walker at the power forward, and Duren at the 5. You get another transition threat next to Ivey, and another playmaker in the starting lineup. I know falling to 5 was the worst possible scenario for the Pistons. And yes, they would have loved to get Scoot Henderson. They would have loved to get Victor Wembanyama, or Amen Thompson, or Brandon Miller. Like, all guys that would be intriguing fits. Like, Scoot and Amen, the fit would be a bit more clunky, but they're still like that good of prospects. And Brandon Miller is a perfect fit for the team. And Victor Wembanyama is Victor Wembanyama. Yes, you would have liked to get one of those 4, maybe a few at the top more than some of the others, but still one of those 4 would have been ideal. But if they can get Jarace Walker at pick 5 and just get healthy as a team, I do think this is a core that has a chance to make a play-in push next season. I think they have the talent, and adding a guy like Jarace Walker that would fit this team like a glove would be a great pick. It's not just about fit, it's about his upside. He can be one of the most versatile players in the league, someone that can be all-star good and all-defense good. And I think that adding Jarace Walker to this core will remind everyone why they have one of the brightest futures in the NBA. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, notified whenever I release a video. I'm making videos about basketball all the time, so if that's something that interests you, I really think you enjoy this channel, And liking, subscribing are the two best ways you can help me out. Helps me on the YouTube algorithm, helps people find my videos, so in turn, helps the channel grow so I can make more content for you guys in the future. Also, let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. But I'd like to hear your thoughts though about the Pistons. What should they do at pick 5? Should they take Jarace Walker? Do you think they should take someone else like a Sar Thompson? Maybe like Miller or Mann falls? If Scoot falls to 5, they should just run the pick in. You know, do you think that they could go like Cam Whitmore or maybe someone that I didn't mention in this video? Love to hear all that in the comment section below. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.